Hello, everyone. Hi, guys. Hey, Carl. Thank you for always being on time. Hey, Source. We've got Greg, Josephson, the real Billy Holdsworth. How are you guys doing? Happy Halloween, Coach FX. Good to see you. Jack Stacy. All right, Alfie is here as well. Vaughn. You know, it's not just Halloween. We have a very special edition of the show today because we have a really special guest who's going to be here with us. Someone I've admired forever since she was the VJ on MTV, like the VJ we all loved. She also hosted Teen Summit and she had her own show called the Ananda Lewis Show. And I used to watch her on TV and say, you know what, I want to be like Ananda. So that's one of the reasons I got into television. She continues to inspire women all over the country, all over the world as well. And on a whole other level right now, it's not only Halloween, it's also Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And on the first of the month, Ananda revealed on Instagram that she has been battling stage 3 breast cancer for the past 2 years. She has a really important message to share to all the women out there and anyone who has a woman in their life. So that's everybody when it comes to prevention and mammograms. So, oh, my mom's here as well. Hi, Mom. Grace McKee. All right, so let's see. Hi, everyone. Let's see if we can find Ananda right now. Hold on, guys. All right. Here she is. Okay, for some reason, it's not letting me. Let me try this again. Sorry, Ananda. It's not letting me bring. Oh, here we go. Okay, so Ananda should be up shortly. I'm super excited. I slid in the DMs and I was
not letting you jump in.
Hi.
I had to jump out and jump in. Hi.
It's so great to see you. It's so great to see you face to face, even though there's a screen between us.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
Face to face.
It's great. And I was just telling everyone, like, I slid in your DMs like a couple of weeks ago and I was like, Nanda, you've been like such a role model to me. And I really appreciate you coming on the show. And I know people are really excited to hear from you and to hear your story as well and your important message.
Thank you for that, Sharon. I appreciate it. I stalk your IG too.
Oh,
I love you with your horses.
When you've got Ananda stalking your IG,
you
know you're doing the right thing.
Yeah. We share a love for horses. I love to see you with those beautiful, beautiful horses.
Oh, do you go riding as well?
Well, I grew up riding horses, kind of. I went to horseback riding camp every summer, and they're one of my favorite animals. I don't get to ride as much now as I used to, but the love is still very real.
I absolutely.
You actually own yours and board them? Or?
I don't. I wish I did. I'm hoping to get there soon, but I volunteer at a stable called Gallop. Okay. Yeah. So they do therapeutic riding there for kids with disabilities and adults with disabilities as well. So I'll go and help and just spend a few hours with the horses. They do amazing work. So
I
absolutely love it.
How's
so Ananda, as I was
okay
telling everyone, oh, go on. Sorry.
Just seeing if the light. It looks like it's a little bright. I keep trying to turn stuff. Hi, everybody. I'll move it this way a little.
Oh
bit.
Yeah. Okay, that's perfect. That looks good. So Ananda, is it still Breast Cancer Awareness Month?
It is.
Right
last
now.
day.
It's the last day. The first day of the month, you revealed on Instagram, and I think it was a really brave and bold move. You revealed on Instagram that you've been battling stage 3 breast cancer for the past 2 years. Why did you decide now was the right time to share your story?
Actually, last year I thought of it, but my just personal life was in such kind of turmoil that it wasn't the right time for me. And that was really important. I wanted to share it at a time where I knew I could be available and really be able to stand behind what I was saying and know it, and I was in the middle of it. So last year was no good for me. This year was way better. And I didn't want to wait any longer. And that was because, what really happened in the couple of months before I decided, okay, it's going to be October, because I was going to do it in August. I was like, okay, this needs to happen. And I was like, well, Breast Cancer Awareness Month is coming up. That makes a little more sense. It's not so kind of random.
Yeah.
And then Chadwick Boseman died.
Yeah.
And
that hit me hard.
That hit all of it. That was like literally the ton of bricks you always hear people saying. It was so heavy and it was so intense. And for him to die of colon cancer, I mean, for me in that moment, living with cancer in my body, I was like, oh my gosh, everything got so real. And not that it hadn't been real before, but I just started having these thoughts of, you know, if I die and no one knows what I did wrong, I'm going to be wherever I'm going next mad, right? So I think I'm going to be okay. But you never know. You cannot have cancer and die. So I felt like it was necessary to really use the opportunity in the moment to share with other women the mistake I made skipping mammograms. You know, Instagram, social media, the world tries to make us feel like we have to be perfect all the time, and you can't have any mistakes. You can't have any flaws. Something's, you know, but we really have to rebuke that and be like, listen, I'm a human being. I learned the most from mistakes, and I learned a huge lesson from this one that I didn't want to make other women have to learn the hard way too, you know? So it was important for me because there are women out there who are stubborn like I was, and they needed to hear from someone like me so they could go take care of themselves better, you know, and get that early detection. It's so vital.
It really is. The video, I mean, just watching it, I felt very emotional, and it was, you know, a really heartfelt message. How tough was it to even record that video and to post it, especially knowing that so many people close to you, some family members and friends, weren't aware at that time that you were battling breast cancer?
It was hard. I actually shot it 3 different times.
Yeah.
And throughout the first 2, I was like, that's not what I want to say. That's not what I want to say. Or, you know, and then the 3rd time I sat down and I just closed my eyes and took a deep breath and I prayed on it a minute. And I was like, just let me be used for some good right here. I want to tell the truth, but I also want to be, you know, real. And that was the take. That obviously it wasn't one take, you know, I edited it up. It was the one sit down just pouring out to my phone. And then I cut it up and made it, you know, less than 9 minutes because it took me a long time to tell it. I contemplated taking out the emotional stuff, but I felt like that was necessary. Real. This shit is hard.
It's authentic. I mean?
So I felt like it came out really exactly like I wanted it to. And then even that night when I was posting, I guess the night of the 1st, I wasn't feeling well. I am in active treatment like Monday through Friday, 6 to 7 hours a day. Like I'm fighting hard, and I wasn't feeling good that day. So I kind of got stuck. I was like, should I do this now? Is this, you know, is this right? And then I got paranoid, like maybe it's a sign, you know, people aren't going to understand. And then I calm all that talk down and let me just do what I know is the right thing. I knew what my goal was. I knew what I felt called to share and to do. And then, you know, I pushed post and turned my notifications off and went lay down and let everything happen, you know, around me and not through
probably
me.
the best thing to do in those situations when you know it's the right thing, but you're still, you know, nervous to do it. Just do it and then shut off for a while.
Yes, you have to just jump and say, okay, somebody's gonna catch me.
Exactly.
I don't know where y'all at.
And a lot of people did. I mean, you really had an outpouring of support. But you were diagnosed January 2019, and as you mentioned, you'd never had a mammogram. You did do self-exams, and thank goodness you did, because you found a lump and you went to the doctor and then you found out what was going on. But your message to women right now is about the importance of mammograms. Why were you against them initially, and how did you realize how important they are as a tool in prevention?
My mom went through her own breast cancer journey, and I forget what years before my son was born, so maybe 08 or 09. And I watched her go through that. I walked with her through it. And I knew, you know, watching her my whole life, getting those mammograms every year, that she was being exposed to radiation. That's kind of just a fact. I mean, you're going to be exposed to radiation. That's one of the things I had a problem with. But where I went wrong in my thinking was not understanding the benefit of that little bit of exposure versus the detriment of not doing it and not being able to find out what's going on in your breast with enough time to do something real, you know, and really heal yourself and be able to live through it. So that was really what it was for me. And I have since learned that there are things you can do, like I won't tell people what to take. I'm careful about that. It's your body. But if you do the research, which everybody can do now because of these smartphones in our hands, you will find what you can take to kind of deal with the radiation you might be exposed to. It's a smaller amount than PET scans. Like I said in my video, I have had to do, gosh, 3 PET scans now. I've had one more since I posted the video. And so, I mean, that if I'm worried about radiation, backfired, you know, I mean, that's a ton of radiation.
There's a lot more with
there's stuff you can do to get it out of your body though. So it just became a matter of not understanding it right for me, which again was what I needed to tell the truth about. Like, here's what I thought was right. And although the science and the thinking is correct, the outcome and the choice not to do mammograms because of it was the mistake.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's interesting. The American Cancer Society says sort of between 40 and 44, it's kind of optional, right? But 45, you should get them done. But you're saying, you know, the earlier the better.
Well, it's funny because when it comes to insurance, they won't cover it before it's recommended. And so it's about, can you afford to do it yourself? If you have a family history like I did, it's really important to be proactive, stay on top of it, do your self-exams even before your insurance will cover it. I actually had more, I was one of those people that ignored symptoms. I honestly, I don't like going to the doctor much. I am not a fan of pharmaceuticals and somebody else telling me what's going on in my body. Like that's kind of how I've always been. And I know that's the case for a lot of other women as well. The problem comes up when you actually have something going on and you still won't go. I had actual discharge coming out of my nipple. And because I breastfed for so long, I was used to discharge. I was used to something coming out of my nipple, like out of nowhere. But it was way too far after I had stopped breastfeeding for that to be normal. I did feel a lump. I had signs that I put off for a couple of months. I actually did the show with TLC that I did.
The home renovation show.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Because you're a carpenter now.
Yeah. What?
You're a carpenter now, right?
Yes, I am. Oh, I thought you said the name of the show. While you were out. While you were out, after I found the lump, and I didn't want to not go do the show. So I was like, I didn't put it off because of that, but there were certainly a number of reasons that I kept saying, okay, I'm going to do that next month. Okay, I lost my insurance for a minute. That's another reason a lot of women put off care. We can't afford it. Our healthcare system is a shambles, and that has to be addressed too. So, you know, I just think whatever the excuse that you're giving yourself, you have to push through it, figure it out, and make your health the #1 priority. I am having to take the time out of my life to heal now. And it's time I probably wouldn't have had to take, especially not as much, had I caught this earlier. So, you know, you got to put the time in no matter what. Just make it an easier journey for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Amazing advice. And you are such a strong woman. I think that's always come across, you know, even a couple of decades ago.
Is it strong or is it stubborn, Sharon? I think it's stubborn.
Well, maybe a bit of both. A little bit of both. Outspoken, stubborn, strong, you know, all of that good stuff. But the strength is really sort of shining through right now. And when you first talked with the doctors about your diagnosis, they said to you, if you don't do anything about it, you might only live for another 2 or 3 years. And you refuse to let that be a reality. And your approach to all of this is being proactive rather than, you know, you could very well feel sad and down on yourself because of it, but you decided not to.
Well, I don't know. I don't see a benefit in the sad and down part. I just like, what can I do with that energy? What am I going to sit in the house all day and cry? No, I need to be doing something. This isn't a death sentence. In my case anyway, everybody's body is different. Diagnoses are all different. In my case, I looked at a tumor in my breast. Realistically, that tumor has been there for years. It didn't crawl up in there the day before I went to the doctor's office, right? So this wasn't an immediate pressing life threatening situation. If there was a tumor in my windpipe, if there was a tumor in my bowel, if there was a tumor blocking something necessary for my body to survive, I probably would have jumped on doing something. Maybe it would have been what they told me to, knowing me, probably not. I would have done something drastic, you know, very quickly. I think you have to know what you're dealing with. What I was dealing with was a tumor that I knew had been there for years, because that's, if you look at the growth of a tumor, by the time it gets to the size it was when I found mine, it's been growing for 7, 8, 9, depending on your body, 10 years. This could have been happening for a decade, right? So I felt like I had time to figure out what I wanted to do. Yes, I got the advice from the experts that I went to, from the breast surgeon to the oncologist, and they said, here's what we think. But what I know to be true about that as well is doctors are brilliant people who are people. And they're looking at a snapshot in time of your body that says, based on these things, this is what we can see. If nothing happens, this is in this same progression where this will end up in what we think is this amount of time. It's all projections and speculation and guessing, right?
Yeah.
And it's based,
Yeah.
yes, on science and what they can see, but it's still a guess. And what I know to be true is that the minute I change one thing about that snapshot, the entire outcome starts to change. And I have an opportunity to shift that. Based on what I eat, that has been phenomenally important for my healing, based on how I think, based on how I feel, based on how I let people treat me, based on how I treat people, based on how much I love myself, based on so many things, right? And I wanted to give all those things that I believe to be real and true and valuable and powerful a chance to do whatever they were going to do in my body before I went to the most drastic step, which was the only option they gave me from the very beginning in terms of what they could do. I believe there's a wide world of what can be done, and it's up to you as a patient. It was up to me to explore it, because they're not going to tell you. It's not their job.
Yeah, you have to figure out what's right for you. By the way, guys watching, if you have questions for Ananda, you can stick them in the little question box, and then
I'm trying to look at you. I wasn't looking at that at all.
Yeah, there's a little question thing down there, so we'll try to get some of those in.
I see a lot of my people in here. Hi, you guys. Guys.
Awesome.
Wow, this is the first time I've gone live since. No, I went live one other time with Jason.
When was the last time you went live?
I think maybe 2 days after. Another friend of mine who does a lot of live stuff, Jason Carter. I went live with him, and then I did a interview with my friend Shamika Rhymes, but that was taped. And so I think this is the first time in a long time I've been on live. So hi, you guys.
Well,
I feel good. I have
super excited to
like real treatment. This is a report, so that's kind of what you see peeking through. Serious business trying to heal.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. And part of the advice that you want to give to women is that it's also important to ask questions, right? So when you're meeting with your doctor, like, don't be afraid to ask.
Yeah.
Any good
questions are so important, but in order to ask the right questions, you have to have done some research, right?
Yeah.
To know kind of what you want to know. One of my questions to my oncologist was, because by the time I saw him, I was diagnosed in January. I might have seen him in March or maybe April. I was really slow to do anything that they were telling me to do. The morning after I found out, I started doing a fast and a cleanse, and that went on and on. And you can see in my Instagram, if you look down the timeline, you'll see when it all started. You could see when I started the juice thing.
I've seen lots of juicing videos. Yeah.
So you know, the time makes it obvious.
And they look delicious, by the way.
Oh, they were amazing. Some of them were really good. I was juicing onions and broccoli and leeks. I mean, there were some nasty juices too. Garlic. I was 3 months. I was stinky for 3 months. But so I knew the questions I wanted to ask were kind of based on what I believed was going to work for me, based on what I was doing. And I said to this oncologist, I asked him, what should I be eating? Like, how did we get here? What is my body doing? Because my body made this. This isn't some alien force, right? This is something my body did because of something. I wanted to figure that out. And I said, what have I been eating wrong? What do I need to eat? Even if I decide to do your standard protocol, like, what do I need to eat for that? And he was like, food has nothing to do with this. And I went, huh? You are not my people. I gotta go.
Yeah.
That it's shocking to me that a physician, but when you think about it, they're not nutritionists. They're not trained in what food does to the body. They're trained to fix what they perceive as a disease. And that's what their laser focus is. And so if that's the route you want to focus on, they're the right people to talk to. For me, that wasn't my path at that moment, you know. So it was
okay to have a
that's
team
the same
of
doctor who
people.
told me I had 3 years. I was like,
yeah.
Maybe you got 3 years, but I got as long as I want.
You didn't go back to him again?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
I haven't. I'm still a bad patient, but whatever.
But I'm sure you're seeing other doctors though.
Yeah. I chose doctors who were more philosophically aligned with what I believe to be true. And that's really important for all of us. If you aren't surrounded by people, especially on this journey, there's so many women out there dealing with breast cancer specifically right now. I've heard from a lot of them. If you aren't surrounded with people on your team and in your life that really support your specific choices, whatever those are, because they're very unique to you, you probably need to get different people, because that is 80–90% of it is what you believe and what you're surrounded with. For me, anyway, that's been true. And, you know, even if that means you got to isolate yourself and cocoon yourself, and just surround yourself with you, because you have the power to be supportive of yourself through the process. And that's been true to me too, even though I feel very supported by kind of the core people who knew even before I shared with the world. I am a really solo functioning person. I function really well on my own. And isolation has been important for me a lot too. Just, you need time. I meditate. You know, all that stuff I do, I need time for. I can't have people around me for that.
Yeah. TLC for yourself.
That's right. That it's the epitome of self-care. Like, you think you want to do self-care now, this is the time to do it. All of you who are out there well, and like you, Sharon, you're well, you're young, you're vibrant, like, take care of that, because losing it and trying to get it back is hell. It really is. So holding on to it is the most important thing to do. Do whatever you need to do before you lose it.
And a lot of people have been talking about self-care because of the pandemic, and you know, it's been rough for many people. So yeah, the time to do it is now. Now, one of the people you have had around you a lot, your 9-year-old son. I've seen some of the videos of you got the dynamic duo.
That's
on Instagram.
Oh my gosh, that's my heart.
He's such a sweetheart. How did you go about telling your son about your diagnosis, and how has he been holding up through your journey?
I did a home birth. I breastfed for 3 years.
I did a home birth.
I was really trying to do every single thing I thought in my mind was the best start for him, right? And once he was out in the world and able to talk, and he was a really smart kid early on at 2, he knew the solar system in order from the sun. And, I mean, I poured so much into him. So in line with that, and in dealing with this, from the beginning of his consciousness, his awareness of his body, I've tried to teach him that he had power and authority over his body. So when he would get hurt, we would put our hands on it. I would show him how to, in his mind, throw light on it, try to heal it on his own. You know, I think Jesus taught us some important lessons. And one of them was hands-on healing, you know, and I think there are a lot of masters who've come to the planet to teach us, and we've chosen to focus on just worshiping them, but really they came to give us information, and it's information we're supposed to be using and applying. And so I have tried to, you know, search for myself, figure out what that is, and then apply it and give that to my child. And so he really has always been receptive to that, and aware of his ability to energetically impact physical matter, right? For lack of a better way to describe it. So one of the first things that happened when I told him, which was the night that I got the phone call from my doctor, because I went home right after that and I was like, everybody's at the house. The way that I told him was basically, I think, you know, this is kind of so ancient in my mind now. It was something like, mommy's body is a little broken in a really important way. If I don't do something about it, it could really hurt me, but I'm going to do something about it. And here's how you can help me. You know, he helped me juice. He would throw carrots and celery in there. But once I cut up stuff, he'd grab handfuls and help me juice. But he also took his little hands, he was 7 at the time, and he put them on my chest. And he
the healing power.
Yeah, he was trying to put his little healing light on me, and it was
he's a smart kid.
He is. He's really, I take a lot of credit, but his dad is doing a great job too. He's really a really wonderful kid. And I really have 6 people on the planet that I consider my children. So I have 7 kids. I really have 8 kids if you consider my bonus, which I do. So I have a lot of kids in my life. I have 6 godchildren.
Who are the other kids?
My godchildren. I don't know if they want me to say their names. Some people like to say private, but
not kids that you gave birth to.
No. But I feel like I did. I mean, I've literally known them all since they were born. They're all brothers and sisters, and they're mine. You know, their mom shares them with me. I'm grateful for that, but they're mine. And, I love them so much, and they're so much a part of my inspiration as well. I mean, there are a lot of people I want to be here for. Like I said in my video, I think it's important, as much as we prioritize other people, I want to be here for me. I have a lot left to do here. You know, and I believe that this is happening to me specifically for a reason. I can run my mouth about anything, and I have run my mouth about a lot of things I don't give a damn about in the past. I care about this, right? I'm passionate about this. And I feel like it's been given to me as an experience so that I can use my gifts of gab and whatever else to really speak some truth to it and give women who don't feel as empowered as I do some understanding of their power and understanding of their options. And listen, the stuff I'm going through is madly expensive. There should be a place where women can go, especially women who look like us, who are the least served in this breast cancer journey, who can just have what they need and have it paid for directly without the bullshit of insurance. Or we're on Instagram, we can say what we want. Like,
bleep, don't worry about that.
Yeah,
That's
you can
fine.
handle that later. But I do feel like if I didn't have the resources and the people who love me, who are willing to help me through this in a financial way, if we want to just be real, I wouldn't be able to get the care I'm getting either. So I understand the limitations that exist when people want to do something outside of conventional. Insurance will pay for conventional. That's a whole system that's set up to benefit itself, right? And they aren't as keen for paying for things outside of that. I understand it. And even though it needs to change, I don't spend my energy fighting against things. I spend my energy going toward the direction of things and making them the way I want to be. So there
Finding
needs
solutions.
to be. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, you know, after I'm healed and done, which is coming, I really plan to set up some infrastructure that allows for women who need this kind of alternative and more integrative, really, approach to be paid for, because it isn't covered by insurance. And it is one of the most powerful ways to heal, where you can keep your body and your immune system intact, the most important system when it comes to fighting anything out of your body, and have a quality of life, not just longevity. Those are both my goals. Like, I don't have any desire to live to be 100. And I know everybody thinks we want to live to be so old. I've taken care of older people. I took care of my grandma for the last 2 years of her life. One of the things she told me almost every day toward the end was, don't get old. This is not what you want to do. Have a fantastic life, live it fully, and be out.
How old was she?
Wither away. She was only 86. I say only because I know some 80-something-year-olds that look amazing and are fantastic. So for me, it's the quality of the body. If I can stay in a body that feels good and serves me the way that I want it to, I'm down for being here as long as I can. As soon as that changes, when I feel like I've run out of options to fix it, this life is not permanent, y'all. I know we know, but we forget that. You know, we aren't going to be here forever anyhow. Yeah, I want quality. I really do want quality. That's what I'm going for.
Yeah. And I know going through treatment, there are days that are more difficult than others. Some are easier. You said that there was a particular week during quarantine where you didn't even know if you were going to make it through. That was a particularly rough week. What was going on that weekend, and how did you push through and push past that?
Looking back at that week, I feel like I was being a little dramatic.
Okay.
Not to discount
just
what my
one of
body
those
was
weeks.
feeling. But yeah, I had one of my best friends had a dear friend of hers that passed away suddenly. And when they finally figured out what happened, she was full of cancer. And she had no idea. And I think that planted itself in my mind in terms of, you don't know what's going on in your body, right? You can feel totally healthy. In the case of some cancers that aren't detectable as easily as breast cancer is, you can feel totally healthy and be on the verge of death. And I was looking at my journey going, yeah, I know in my heart I've done the right thing for me, but is it the right thing for my goal? You know, I just started questioning everything. And that's, you know, that's a really normal part of this. Like, you don't know, even if you go conventional, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know how everything's going to come out. And so there are days where, you know, I would question. And that particular week, that happened. There was something else that happened in my life that was really upsetting. And I think I just had a really rough week emotionally. And I woke up one morning going, having a pain kind of in my liver area, knowing that this kind of cancer, when it metastasizes, can go to the liver, the brain, the bone pretty easily. And I was like, oh my God, what's happening? Because of COVID, everything had been locked down and I couldn't go get the scans I was getting, not PET scans at that time, but just ultrasounds, just to keep track of where things were and have a kind of an eye on it, right? All of that went away. I couldn't do my treatments, and I was kind of relegated to my food choices, which are powerful and make a difference, and my supplement choices and my own home protocols, which I was doing sauna and working out and all these things that were less effective, but still important. And I felt like, you know, I know what the end result is of all life in general. I don't want mine to be soon, but what am I doing to prevent that? And that became very, very real to me. I was walking around kind of, you know, watching my child and helping him and like really observing those moments, like, will these be his last memories of me? And it got crazy. And so I think it was during that kind of 24-hour window where I said, I have to figure something else out. I have to figure out what else can be done. And, you know, I've left California. I had to go out of town to find the treatment I wanted because they don't allow for the kind of integrative care that other places do. So I found exactly what I was looking for. I kind of got sent on this mission. And, you know, it was for me, my communication with God, with the higher power, with the source of all things is very subtle and very, you know, I can hear it sometimes, but it's also very quiet sometimes. And this day it was like, look up immunotherapy. It was real loud. And it sounded like a friend of mine who had survived lymphoma 8 years ago. And she told me, like, is this you? Who is it? But I started looking it up. I started expanding what I would accept in terms of outside help. And I'm doing really well, you know, and my tests and everything are coming back really looking like things are turning around. So I've always been hopeful. I think, you know, hopeful is how to be, but now I'm excited and I feel like I made good choices. And it's just a matter of time, you know, but also this can be a long journey. Some people I know who have dealt with this, it's come back every single year and every single year they've hit it again. You know, it's a chronic illness and one that depending on how you address it and what kind of treatments you do, it can be something you need to address over and over again. So yeah, I'm up for it. Whatever I got to do, I'll be here for as long as I want to be. That's period.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Now, how has COVID impacted the way you're able to live? I know you weren't able to get a lot of your treatments during COVID, but just in general, do you have to be extra vigilant to make sure you don't get COVID right now?
I guess I'm in the category of someone with a compromised immune system, although my immune system has been so sturdied up with a lot of the different protocols I'm doing that I don't really believe my immune system is compromised, but I think, you know, people in the cancer category, for me, when I think through it, I think people who have been diagnosed with cancer and start the conventional treatment of full dose chemo and all those things that really do compromise your immune system, yes, those people would be very much so in compromised immune systems, compromised immune system states. I don't know that that's the case for me because I'm doing so many things that do the opposite of that. I probably am someone who is in a more normal immune system category right now. So I don't feel any more at risk than anybody else. I mean, I wear my mask, I follow the rules. I'm good at rule following. In most cases, I wasn't about that, but I am now. So yeah, no, I don't feel like there's any particular extra risk on that.
Got it. You take the regular precautions.
Yeah, but even before, I was spraying myself down with alcohol when I would come in the house.
I did see that video.
Yeah, like, if you have stuff landing on you, try to kill it. So I spray down my child. I spray down my dad who lives with me. I spray everybody who comes in my house down, which is not that many people. But you know, that's just
and at the grocery store, you make sure they always sanitize their hands. I saw that and sanitize your groceries. Yeah.
Oh my God, you pay a lot of attention.
I did. I stalked your Instagram, I'm telling you. I totally stalked your Instagram.
Well, yeah, it's true.
Now, you know, a very important day coming up. Oh, go on. Sorry.
No, we're both done. Wait, you go.
Oh, okay. A very important day coming up, right? I voted early the other day, last Saturday.
So proud of you. Good job.
Thank you. Tell me your thoughts on just the importance, tell us your thoughts on the importance of voting, especially when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to women's rights, when it comes to ending this pandemic.
Well, you know, nobody can tell you how to vote. You got to vote your heart. But when you look around at what's going on, you have to look at the source of where a lot of this nonsense is coming from. And I think anybody with eyes can see it. And what's so important about voting for me is that I know for a fact I had ancestors who lived through the horrors that this country meted out upon them. And on both sides, both Native American ancestors and African descendant ancestors were, you know, horribly wronged by this nation. That has not been righted on any level, and it may never be. But what I know to be true is that we are all citizens of this country, and I feel like I own it more than anybody else. It is mine. I wear flags because that's my flag too. My people bled and died for that. And you're not going to usurp it just because you feel like you have some upper hand. I rebuke your upper hand and let me show you who built this mess, right? So I feel very proud of being an American. I feel very patriotic. And I think we give too much power to people who kind of want to usurp that title for themselves to actually do it. This is where I'm from too. And I'm gonna fight for it, and I'm gonna do what I need to do for it. And what we can do is use the power of our vote to turn the things that we don't like into things that we do like. And not just things, but people. We are not just voting for the president. That's one of the most important offices. But when you think about who really makes the rules and passes laws, it actually isn't the most important office. You need to vote for all of it. You need to vote every 2 years, not just every 4. Yeah. We focus on these presidential elections. I love what that young man Yellow has done in terms of using his creativity to bring a lot of awareness to what all the different levels of politics and the legislative departments and stuff are. He knows it and says it much better than me. But I know that
it starts locally.
Ballots.
Yeah, starts at the local
yellow
level.
Pain?
Oh yeah, I think so. But it all starts at the local level, right?
Yes,
like you have to vote in those local elections too.
Right. And what I love about that is it's kind of this macrocosmic look at a microcosmic truth, which is that all of our power really begins with an individual. It all begins on a small level. Your power begins in your body, right? What I'm dealing with is my power begins in here, right? And then after I focus on and get a real handle on my power, I can go outside of myself and start to gather things in and start to expand and expand and expand. And so when you look at that and you bring that out, that's really the truth. Everything starts at this small level and works its way out. And if we can handle things at this small level, every time you go out, it's also going to be good, right? If we have it good from here, we can make it good out here. Yeah. And so the core of things is really important when you talk about politics or your life and your health and your family. If you're not taking care of your family, my grandma used to say, charity begins at home. You have to take care of your family, your people. And then that idea of people expands to include all people. But if there's any point of it that's off from the smallest part to the largest part, you got to go back and fix that. And we have a lot of things that are off. But, you know, when I look at a lot of the problems, I look at the drama I see both on Instagram and TV and everywhere, like in the world, we can get overwhelmed with that. Yeah. But it's also important to remember that at our core, we are good. We love each other. There's a lot of love in the world as well. And it's all about what you focus on, you know? So when I start to get overwhelmed, I just focus back down on the love. I'm like, oh, I need to find some love to look at. Because it helps you deal with the craziness. And it helps you remember that that's how to fix it, with just that beginning love.
You're absolutely right. And sometimes the love is just quieter than the hate. The hate is like this. Yeah. The love is quiet, gentle, peaceful. So you don't always recognize it. Yeah, exactly.
I think that's because hate has less power, so it has to be more loud.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the true authority of love completely overcomes any level of hate. So hate has to try to get your attention, because it's like love is in us, hate isn't.
Absolutely. You got to ignore it. Now, Ananda, a little birdie told me that Prince once said...
Birdies? What are birdies?
A little birdie told me, that the legendary Prince once said that one of the things that makes you so beautiful is your optimism. And you are such an optimistic person. You are so positive. Tell me how, like, where does that come from? The outside sources and then the inside source as well. Like, even on those really difficult days, you still remain positive. And this has just been this has been part of you for decades.
You know, first of all, I love Prince. I miss him so much.
Yeah. How well did you know him? Quite well?
Quite well. Really back in the 90s and all into the 2000s, but quite well. We were good friends, and his death was a huge blow for me too. That happened right around anyway. So I love when I hear now, like he and I would have conversations, and of course, people don't say that kind of stuff to your face. He probably said that to someone else, but I've heard so many things since that he said about me, and it's just like, wow, it's really how people see you is really a trip, and I hate that I didn't really know it, but anyway, my optimism, I think it goes back to stubbornness. I'm super stubborn. Like, if you tell me something can't happen, I'm that little kid that reverse psychology worked on really well. Like, you want me to eat something, tell me don't eat it. I'm like, I'm gonna eat it just because. So maybe the core of that is still very real, but I'm also just happy. Like, there have been so many opportunities for people and experiences and stuff that happens in life to take my joy. And, you know, there have been times where it got close to working. And then, I don't know, God has always been real to me. Angels have always been real to me. Something always just comes and saves me. And the more I see myself being saved, the more I believe that I am here for a reason. And, you know, life is too short to be miserable. Like, for what? You're not going to be here long enough to be miserable. Just be happy. Get as happy as you can, as fast as you can. Enjoy it. It doesn't make sense to me to be sad. It doesn't. And I am sad sometimes. I don't want to give that impression. I'm a normal human person, obviously, and we have a range of emotions. But I tend to believe that when you look at frequency, and I get a lot of my understanding of frequency from Dr. Joe Dispenza, who I love. I don't know him personally, but he's been a huge part, his teachings have been, of my journey. And so there's this, you know, frequency hierarchy. And down here is hate and despair and sorrow and all the sad things that you feel bad when you feel them, right? You feel bad. They have on your body. And the higher you go up that tone scale or that energetic frequency scale, you get to love and gratitude and joy and peace at the top. And and all through there's a variation. But I just like to feel good. And up at the top is where I feel the best. So as much as possible, I try to maintain that. When I find myself down here, I go, okay, I'm going to feel like this for a minute. I'm going to wallow in it. And then get right back up and get higher again. You know, it's important. I refuse to be miserable. I feel like that's
you have to take your thoughts to that higher frequency.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get more positivity back.
Say it again.
You're going to get more positivity back when you put it out there.
Absolutely. That is a law of nature. What you put out is what you're going to get back. We're working with a lot of natural laws that really work on our behalf, even though we're not aware of them. But when you learn them and you figure them out and you see that you have control over a lot of this and you got an equalizer that you can adjust things with, but you're the one that has to figure out how to adjust it, becomes this wonderful game of figuring it out and making sure you feel how you want to feel at all times and not letting anybody or anything come in and stop that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, we were just talking about Prince. So let's go back a couple of decades. You were like the VJ. When I think of VJ, I think of Ananda Lewis. Right? The golden age of entertainment.
It was golden.
Reporting and entertainment news and VJing.
Let me do something.
What did that time mean?
The oil off of me. Go ahead.
You look great anyway, shiny or not. So you were on MTV, you were hosting TRL, you also hosted Teen Summit on BET, which won you a couple of awards and AACP Image Awards, right? You had your own talk show as well. But what was that time like for you? What are sort of your biggest memories and moments from that time?
Teen Summit was my first real TV job. I had hosted a kind of underground video show called FM Video for a little while. It was like side money for me in college. And that was a lot of fun. And then I was doing a lot of youth work. I had a goal to be a teacher and was in the middle of a summer right after I graduated. I didn't have a job yet, was going to apply for Teach for America. And I was doing youth work with the Mayor Barry's Youth Leadership Institute, which actually some of my kids have found me on Instagram. So some of them are around too, from that program. But an audition for Teen Summit came up and I had friends that worked at BT. My friend Keith Lawson, who still works with BT.
I know Keith Lawson, yeah.
You do?
Yeah, Keith was one of the,
yeah, he was one of the people that, I think he knew somebody I knew. I knew him directly too, but like it came to me from two different directions. Yeah. And basically it was that here's this audition and you need to come. And I was like, I don't need to do that. I'm trying to apply for Teach for America. I know what I'm doing. I'm focused. He was
that
like, no,
stubbornness, the stubbornness.
The stubbornness, right. He said, this is going to be easy for you. You're already working with kids. And the kids in my program, I told them, I said, you know what, you guys know anything about this show, Teen Summit? They were like, yeah, I've seen that a few times. Well, what do you think? They called me for an audition. They were like, you got to go. And I was like, I'd never seen it because I didn't have cable. I was a college student. I couldn't afford cable. I wasn't watching TV like that. And they said, you have to go because all summer long, you've been telling us that life is going to bring you things and you have to say yes. And if you say no, you're a hypocrite.
Ooh, they hit you with that.
Guilt trip. So I went to the audition. I was like, God, just because y'all said that.
And so I knew you were a natural already.
I had a speech impediment till I was 8. My mom was smart enough to give me speech therapy. I did speed reading along with speech therapy. So once I got over the speech impediment, I really was like, I never shut up. I know my poor sister, I couldn't say S's. And as soon as I could say S's, I was in her ear like just torturing her with S's, but I couldn't say S's. So once I could talk, I never shut up. And it did work for me in the end. You know, it was like, oh, and the kids, the posse that were there at my audition, they were just like my kids in my program. You know, they talk mess, they challenge you, but I've been doing that all summer. So it was really easy. It was like second nature. And Teen Summit remains my favorite job on TV because I feel like we had such an impact in the lives of young people. We allowed them to see themselves as powerful people, as someone who could really have an opinion that could be heard, that could start to change the narrative in their lives and around them just by talking, you know. And there were so many powerful things that happened in so many ways that we benefited people. And that really was in line with kind of my teaching. You know, I still felt like I was doing what I needed to be doing that job. And then I left to go to MTV. And actually, Prince was one of the people that told me, don't go.
Oh, really?
Got a little over that. Yeah. But
yeah.
But I went because I'm stubborn. And I was like,
as soon as he said don't, you're like, I'm going.
I'm going. I put together my own reel for MTV, like spliced it together in the studio, in the edit room at Teen Summit, because I was also a producer on the show, so I could use the edit base. And I mean, literally, like, you know how we used to tape tapes? You probably not old enough to remember that, but tapes with tape. I mean, it was crazy. Yeah. So we were splicing, and I put together my own reel, and I got called back that night. I got on a train to go to New York. I auditioned. It was like July 17th, 1997, I think. And but I came back. I had a message on my answering machine. Again, you ain't old enough to remember that.
Oh, I remember
my answering machine at home.
I definitely remember answering machines.
The little tape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the little tape answering machines.
Yeah, the ones.
I feel like I do remember those. Yeah.
Your mom had them. You ain't have one.
Yeah.
So I had a message on there from Rod Asa at MTV saying, we want you. So what do we need to do? And it was like literally everything just started going. And I was like, I didn't think I'd really get it. And
wow.
It just, you know, it just kept going from there. And I loved MTV too. MTV was such a magical, I mean, just the time of when I was there, launching the Times Square studios, TRL is a massive show, which started out as MTV.
Massive.
Yeah, working with Carson and Matt Pinfield and Bill Bellamy and Serena Alcher, all the people that were there when I got there. Yeah. And then being kind of one of the only 3 VJs for a while, you know, and being like, the only
probably the favorites. Probably the favorite.
You know, that's subjective. I'll take it. I know I was the loudest.
Yeah. But good loud. You were good loud.
Fun. Yeah, it was always. But that, you know, again, my gift of running my mouth that ran my mother and my grandmother and my sister crazy ended up benefiting me and being something I really turned into great work. And, you know, now looking back, we made some history and we did some big things that'll never be repeated. So it was a magical time. I'm really happy about all of it.
I bet. It's interesting because with a lot of entertainment journalism, you have people sort of kissing the asses of celebrities, which you didn't. That wasn't your approach. And I
I don't like kissing anybody's ass. First of all.
Well, you were ready to take them to task, and I read about this. I couldn't find the video, but apparently, and Q-Tip, I'm sure he's a friend of yours. He's a friend of mine. But you called him out for one of his music videos and having a lot of half-naked girls in the music video. What I did find was the interview that you did. No, Chris Rock interviewed you and asked you about that. Yeah. And
he asked me about Q-Tip?
He did ask you about Q-Tip because he was like, but Ananda, you were in a music video.
Yeah.
What music video was he talking about?
I did the Shy Baby I'm Yours video back in college, but I feel like I did something else. I think I did something with Master P. It's so funny. This is my life. Okay. I don't remember half of it. Like other people could tell you more than me. Everything is such a blur for a lot of it. And honestly, there was a lot of partying going on. So, you know, some of it's just a gray area of smoke. But I did do like a couple of videos. My problem, let me just back up because that moment with Q-Tip was live. And it's one of those moments I wish I could go back and change because he wasn't mine. And I felt like I came at him in a way that it wasn't disrespectful. It was honest for how I felt. Mm-hmm. But I wish I had taken a private moment with him off camera. Okay. And that I didn't say everything I had to say on camera. I felt like, you know, especially looking back, it was it was like a violation of his trust for me as just a person who he knew. And this was his first solo project. I was excited for that for him. I wish somebody had shown me the video, because I would have said what I had to say, and then they would have been like, don't say that. And I've been like, okay. But it was all live. And that's the nature of live, is you don't know what's going to happen. And I have, always had things will come out and I wish I could take them back. And that's what it is. But I'm sorry, Tip. Like, that really wasn't how I wanted that to go. And I didn't do it for some nefarious reason. I was just literally in my head going, wow, you're so conscious. And this is so, and as a woman, I felt like, why I gotta be scenery? I'm like a person, and coming from Teen Summit, all these issues that we had dealt with, and standing up for young women, and being a young woman who had dealt with, violations in my life, just all of it came together in a really difficult moment that I didn't handle the way that I would go back and handle differently. And that moment is one of my regrets. Not that I have it, but it wasn't the way I wish I'd handled it, friend to friend,
How did he respond when you asked him about it?
He got it. I wish I could see the tape again, but I remember a lot of quiet. We had a studio full of audience. His manager, who I can't remember exactly who it was at the time, was glaring at me, like all red lights that were going off that I should have seen and been like, ooh, check yourself. I didn't notice it. I was like, on my, why, like, well, how are you, we're expecting this, and you're conscious, and da-da-da-da. He was just like,
the producer wasn't in your ear like, Ananda, reel it in.
They weren't. Like, the IFB was in my ear, but they weren't saying anything. Because I think it threw them off too. It was something where everybody went, oh shit, what'd she just say? What? And, I got a call after that. Anyway, it was a trip. It was really a trip. That was one of those moments. But he did fine anyhow. I wasn't making or breaking careers, but I just wish I'd handled it differently.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. You decided to leave television at a certain point. Tell us why. Even though you went back last year, but you left for a while.
Yeah, I did. I left for a very long time. Well, the main reason I ended up leaving was that my grandmother started getting ill. She was unable to live on her own anymore. She started falling. All those things that happen with age, right? The things she told me to avoid. And I was not going to be on the planet and have her in a nursing home. That wasn't going to happen. She was one of the main people who raised me and sacrificed for me. And along with, my mom and my aunt and all my kind of village that was with me, my grandma was the pivotal matriarch of that. And I felt like if she needed me, everything else is going to wait. Everything else is going to stop. In tandem with that, I was doing a talk show that had my name on it that I didn't feel like I had anything to do with other than my name on it. There were things happening that I couldn't stand behind and didn't sit right in my spirit. And, that is the nature of the talk show world. Things get edited, things get manipulated, that's what they do. But I wasn't clear on that. I thought this was going to be, pristine. And I was like, I'm thinking Teen Summit again. We're going to make a difference. And although we did some good stuff, it was too far off the mark for what I wanted to be represented like if my name was going to be on something. And because I didn't have kind of the good cop, bad cop people in place on a team, I was playing good cop and bad cop. And that just doesn't go well when you cussing out executives and you on the phone cussing out. I mean, it was just, I have a really interesting temper when it comes to authority and being told what to do. And it didn't work. I was miserable. I was, I had some really dark times, and I knew if I didn't leave, it was going to be really bad. So when that was happening and my grandma was sick and 9/11 happened the day before our show launched, which it was going bad before 9/11, but that was just like this, it was like a sign to me. I was like, oh, I really am supposed to leave. Like, I can't do this. So I made it all the way to, I think, June or May. And I was just like, I can't do it. That's when my grandma had called. I was like, all right. So friends drove out from San Diego. We packed 2 U-Hauls and I left. And I left without any kind of warning or real closure. I left in a way that, again, if I could go back, I would change that moment. I would at least tell the people who I knew should have known that I was leaving. When I got to California, I changed my number. Like, people couldn't even find me. I really disappeared. And you know, for what I needed to do that for me, but
Yeah.
I could have done it in a different way. Hindsight's always 2020. You live and learn. I would do it different now today, but it's
I mean,
done.
you were so young at that time anyway as
I was
well.
27.
Yeah. That's young.
Super young. Like
Yeah.
I felt like I was smart, but I was a dumb 27 when it came to like life, you know, like good decisions, bad decisions, taking help from people, all of that. I was, you know, the stubbornness really did not work for me well back then. And
Yeah.
I was all alone too. I felt I had good friends, but I didn't have family. I'd asked certain family members to come out, help manage me, help me figure out what I'm doing. Like I was in this huge world, becoming this huge star, and had no understanding of what that meant, what that was, or anything. I was really panicked and lost, and I had a lot of stalkers back then, which was terrifying for me.
Oh,
They
like
were
that.
really
Yeah.
coming for me, and I don't know. It was a very chaotic time in my life. It was really chaotic. Even looking back, I feel anxiety around like memories of it. It
Wow.
was crazy. I moved every single year, you know, like just place to place to place to place. I didn't have any
Trying to
stability. It
avoid.
was crazy.
Oh,
But I
yeah.
had a lot of love. I mean,
You had a
I
lot of love.
yeah, I did. I
You
mean,
still have a lot
from
of love.
people, but I had someone I like was in love with too. So
Yeah.
that was a sticking point for me. It made things a little easier, but then even that went anyway.
Okay.
So we off on tangents, girl.
No, it's interesting though, because sort of from the outside looking in, it's like, wow, she's got the best job in the world. Like she must be the happiest person in the world. And then when you hear stories of what it's really like to be in these positions, it's a lot harder than it looks.
A lot harder. Yeah, you know from your own experience, you do think it's one thing looking out from looking in from the outside, and when you get in it, you're like, oh, this is nothing like what I thought it was. It was amazing. It was magical, especially BT and MTV. But it changed after that for me and became more of a machine. I felt more like a person who was being put upon, and you know, for me as a being, that just has never worked. So it just was time to change again. There've always been these times in my life where I'm like, okay, it's time to shift. Okay, it's time to shift. And I would keep doing that. But the 2 years with my grandma made it all worth it. I was so grateful to have made that choice, best choice I could have made. And we both just, it was an amazing 2 years. I got to really give back to her, and we don't get to do that much. You know, there's people that pour into our lives so much and then they're gone before we can even say thank you. But I got to hold her through her darkest times. And that was, I mean, I wouldn't have missed that for anything.
Nothing more important
that would have kept me from that.
Nothing more important than that. Let's take one or two questions quickly, because you know Instagram cuts us off like about an hour in. Yeah, they love to do that.
Has it already been an hour?
Yeah, it's almost been an hour. They let me go a few minutes extra last time, but let's see. Okay.
I love these.
Do you still keep in touch with Maxwell? Someone's asking. Is Maxwell a friend of yours?
Maxwell is, well, we were definitely friends back then, but it's hard when you disappear on people, because
oh, you disappeared on Maxwell too.
I mean, I left and I changed my number. I was really, really, you know, what did People Magazine call me? An it girl, this or that. I mean, that comes with a lot, you know, and when I left, I just felt like I wanted a clean break, and nobody could really find me. It took even like the biggest people, I'm not a big name dropper, but we've already talked about them. It took a lot of people a lot of time to find me, because I disappeared, and I'm a good disappearer when I decide to be gone. And I wasn't trying to leave them. I was trying to go focus and just be left alone to focus. You know what I mean? And I didn't take into consideration what that meant in terms of the people that I was walking away from. So Maxwell was one of the people that reached out to me during this whole thing. And I was so grateful and so nice to hear from him, because we did have a nice friendship back then. And I'm very fond of him. He's someone I love a lot. And you know, that everybody knew everybody. So you can't name somebody that I didn't know back then.
And you interviewed them all in-depth interviews, so you really got a chance to get to know people in that session as well, mixing and mingling afterwards. The golden era. The golden era. I mean, girl, if I would write a book, which I won't, it would be no. Why not about that. I'm not into telling people's business. I'm just not. I'm not a person who drops names and tells stories. That's not me. If I have an experience with somebody, that's going to be between us. Friendship, whatever it is. Like, I don't really talk a lot about
experiences with people. It's
Totally.
disrespectful to me. I just don't do it. But
Yeah.
you know, I don't need to do it because I lived it.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
And it's really none of anybody else's business. So
yeah.
but,
It's one
was
thing if it was something on the record, but when it's off the record and it's outside of sort of work time and, you know.
Well, the on record stuff you can see on tape somewhere.
Exactly.
So that's fine. But everything else is like, I will take stuff to my grave for real.
Yeah. That's true class.
I'm trustworthy.
That's true class right there.
Yeah.
So lastly, I want to ask you just how you feel about the outpouring of love that you have received from so many people. I mean, I was stalking your Instagram. So I was just looking at a lot of the messages and just how many women you have inspired to go and get checked. Did you envision this to be the reaction this huge?
I honestly did not. I felt like I said in the post, like there was going to be one or two women. There might be, you know, a few women who I really had no expectation, but I also had no idea that it would become what it has become. And I've heard from so many women, even just in the comments on the post, but a lot of women have directly contacted me too, who have been diagnosed recently, who are right now fighting cancer, or who more so in the comments, who decided to get mammograms because of me sharing my mistake and sharing my story and what it's turned into. And I just feel like that makes it all worth it. It makes it all make sense. It makes why I felt called and compelled to do it make sense. And, you know, why not? I spent all these years talking and being someone who you all could look at on TV, who, you know, pretty much was always honest with you and was always myself. And to be experiencing something like this and leave everybody out of it, especially when sharing it could benefit them, it didn't make sense to me. I wanted to continue to be that voice. And I knew that there are women out there who weren't listening to other people who might listen to me because of our, you know, TV relationship, because I'm their best friend in their head, or was when they settled, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so like,
absolutely.
Let me tell them so that they'll hear it and do it and not make the same mistake, because early detection really can save your life. If I had caught mine earlier, I would have been able to do the same stuff I'm doing, but a lot less. It would have been way easier to deal with it. And, you know, there's some magical, well, they seem magical. I feel like I'm in Star Trek sometimes with the kind of high-tech stuff I have access to right now. I mean, they've gone in and frozen my tumor. They've cut off the blood supply. We've done all this really amazing stuff, but it's hard work, and it is it's hard to go through. So if you can avoid this, let me tell you, you can avoid it, you know. So I'm blown away and really grateful for all that love and support. And I've done, you know, as much as I can to share that love and support with the other women battling breast cancer right now too, who are not as visible, who are not getting the same kind of outpouring of appreciation and of support and encouragement, because they need it too. So, you know, my cup is full and runneth over. So if you know anybody, or even listen, y'all, go through the comments on the post. And when you see the women who are sharing that they're going through it right now, just go give them some love. Just go tell them, listen, stay strong. You're going to be okay. We love you. We're praying for you. I'm good. Like, I got enough. Go share it with these other women, because there are millions of women out here in the same struggle who aren't getting the same kind of attention. Yeah.
You have such a beautiful heart. And I have to say, you were talking about cursing out executives, but there's one executive who saw that I was doing this interview with you, Eric Watson. He used to be he probably worked with you. Was it Teen Summit or MTV where he worked?
I think Eric, it was it MTV, Eric?
Well, Eric was, I worked with him at BET, but he might have been at MTV before that. So, but he said to me, he sent me a message. He was like,
I worked with him at one, it might have been both.
Yeah.
What do you say?
He said, you are the sweetest, just like the sweetest, most beautiful person he has worked with before.
He's never crossed me. Thank you.
Yeah. You didn't curse him out then.
On my bad side, but thank you.
Some others might have a little something different to say.
Yeah. Oh, there are those who will tell you a whole nother story.
Yeah.
But just trust me, they crossed me wrong, and I don't really play that. So as joyful as I can be, my parents were transcendental meditators, and my dad always says to me, Maharishi, who they followed and studied with and traveled with, used to say, whatever something contains of one thing, it contains equal parts of the other. So if you contain 100% joy, you got another 100% of some fire under there. And that is absolutely true for me. Like, I can bless you and hug you all day, and as soon as you cross me, we're going to be, you know, I have that in me too. And we all need that, because it's useful.
Yeah.
We need it. Seasons.
And it is so good to know, because I've heard so many, you know, nothing but great things about you. And I'm like, how was she in this position and just so sweet all the time with all the shenanigans that go on in this industry? Because I know I'm not always nice. So yeah, so you know, good to know you're you know, giving them what they need behind the scenes.
Yeah, you know, I feel like how you treat people is, like you said before, what you put out is what you get back. How you treat people is how you get treated, and that is true up to a certain extent. I have not always treated people well, but as soon as I discovered that I didn't, if it wasn't on purpose, I try to take responsibility for that, and that's a big part of it. We're all human. We're all, you know, in here figuring it out, sometimes feeling in the dark and making mistakes and falling downstairs. Just get back up. That's it. Just get back up. Keep getting back up.
Absolutely. Ananda, we're probably going to get cut off in 2 seconds, but any last words for everybody?
To you, Sharon, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you reaching out. Keep doing what you're doing. I love watching you and all the things that you do. Thank you. I'm so encouraged that I had a little bit of part of inspiring you, because you're beautiful. You're doing it. I'm so proud of you out there in the world representing us. And to everybody else, just, you know, one thing I love to remind people is that you're powerful. You're powerful on the third. You're powerful every day, and you're powerful in your body. We get these human bodies for split seconds. So take as good a care as you can of it, and enjoy it. You know, life is short either way you live it. So live it well.
Absolutely. It's been amazing chatting with you. We're going to be following your journey on Instagram, and then I'd love to have you back on, you know.
Yeah, I'm coming back on to tell you that I'm completely healed. That's when I'm coming back.
Can't wait
and hopefully
for that.
That's not too far from now.
Can't wait for that. Thank you so much, Ananda. We do love you. Let us know if you need anything. And thank you guys for watching. We appreciate it.
Thank you guys. Sorry we didn't get to all the comments, but we love you. Thanks for coming. I see a lot of my people in there. Thank you for hanging out, y'all.
Bye. Bye, Mr. Grill. It's my best friend.
Oh,
Bye.
See you
Bye,
soon.
guys.